been talking about this motorway. Today, our guest, Engineer Reverend Professor Charles Anum Adams, is going to help us really break things down. But look, the problem is big. It's big. I mentioned earlier that since 2011, we've been pledging money to fix this motorway for such a long time. And the project is much bigger than what you see between Accra and Tema. This is a road this is the N1. It's supposed to stretch across the coast, linking the west to the east. And you can see how they have already abandoned parts of this project. When you continue from Tema and you start going towards Pram Pram, you know, all the work they started doing there that was causing all that traffic, they dug up the roads and created that mess. They've walked away from it. The contractors are no longer on site. And they've built these concrete monuments along the way. Bong, Dowenya, they built these interchanges halfway up and left them there. It's the project that everyone seems to have forgotten. Yet we keep bringing it up. It is one of the most crucial roads in our country, the Accra-Tema Motorway. How can we allow it to fall into such a state? Well, we'll try and figure out how to get out of this problem with Engineer Reverend Professor Charles Anum Adams. Now, Prof. Anum Adams is actually the founding center director for the Regional Transport Research and Education Center, Kumasi, TREC for short. It's at the College of Engineering at KNUST. Prof, we're so glad that we could have you on this topic. If we can have you unmute your microphone, we can get straight into it.
All right. So, good morning, Gojo, and thank you for inviting me for this conversation.
We're happy.
Very important one, that.
Indeed, we're happy to have you.
I want to say good morning to all your listeners and all my friends across the world who have joined this conversation.
Wonderful, Prof. That road from Accra to Tema, is it still a motorway?
I don't know. Maybe, it's like your parents gave birth to you and they called you Kinjo. That's why you're called Kinjo. Motorway was built with the standards and all the things that you would expect of a motorway. And typically, a motorway is a high-speed road that does not permit slow-moving vehicles and does not have bus stops and does not have dropping point because it does not allow for pedestrian hard-grade crossing. Unfortunately, all the descriptions and attributes of a motorway do not currently apply to the Accra-Tema motorway. So the only reason why we call it a motorway is that one, we are still allowing the high speed, and two, we called it a motorway when it was built. All the other things that need to be enforced are not enforced, and therefore it has become a very dangerous death trap in the country.
Speaking of death trap, I mean, I can't even begin to catalog the number of things wrong with this motorway, but we'll try and go through them one by one. First of all, the surface of the road. This was a road made of concrete. Our understanding is that that's the longest lasting type of material you can use to make a road. And indeed, it had a lifespan of 50 years, which lapsed about 10 years ago. So, the surface has become really immotorable, especially on the Tema to Accra stretch. Massive potholes, depressions in the road, creating very sharp ridges that if your tires hit against, only God knows what physics will, cause your car to do on that road. There are iron rods sticking out of some of these potholes. It's a mess. First of all, what are we doing wrong? Why is this road deteriorating at such a rate? And what should we be doing to keep it motorable?
Now, let me take you through a little bit of road asset management, and only that will help your listeners to understand what is happening. This is not happening only on the motorway. It's virtually a national issue. Almost all the roads that were built, even in our cities, the asphalt roads, have all reached what we call a state of rapid deterioration. When you build a road, you are building a road, you could do flexible pavement, which typically is a blacktop asphalt, or a rigid pavement, which is usually made of Portland cement concrete. Portland cement concrete may be reinforced or not reinforced. So the motorway is a rigid pavement which is made of reinforced concrete. Now, when you build a motorway, we always say that it lasts for 50 years. That is not 50 years without maintenance. There is some maintenance you need to do. So it goes through a state of very gradual deterioration. So it gives you, period where you don't spend almost anything on the road surface for a very long time, almost about 30 years. So your initial cost may be high, but for the next 30 years, you spend virtually nothing, just by cleaning your ditches or clearing the grass on the side and doing very little surface maintenance. Then, in the last 10 years or so of its life, it reaches a state of rapid deterioration. Now, if you want to do something on the motorway, which is really concrete, you need to arrest the deterioration so that you may be able to prolong the life whilst you prepare to do something about it. So if you look at the UK and so many other places, they also had motorway concrete roads like we had, what we have, but along the line, they decided to improve the ride quality by turning them into blacktop surfaces, which means instead of allowing the thing to break into pieces and you lose all your investment, they re-engineered it to use the concrete as part of a new structure, and then they saved a lot of money. And even in Liberia at the moment, their roads have been done like that. Unfortunately, we have allowed the time to slip away, and now the road is breaking into little pieces. That's why you say you see what you see. That is why the reinforcement, which is supposed to be at the bottom, is showing on the surface. What that means is that we are almost done. Everything is virtually finished. And what could we have done something? Can we do something? Yes. What can we do? The motorway, as you rightly explained, is a very important, highly trafficked international corridor. And it's linking two very important cities or parts of the city. Tema, which is an industrial hub, port, very big port with heavy loads. Then you have the main Accra connecting, and if you are going to Aflawo, any part of that, any part of that area of Ghana, you need to use the motorway. So to allow it to have a bad cities, we know that we don't have money to fix it altogether. That is, we can maintain it. Now, in road asset management, there is something we call do nothing or do minimum. So you either do nothing, you do nothing, the users suffer the most, and the cost of operating their vehicles, safety, congestion, inconvenience, skyrockets into the air. But usually we don't want that. So we don't do nothing. We do minimum. When you do minimum, you try to arrest deterioration. You try to make sure that road users have some good riding surface, the best. But at least you minimize the safety issues. You minimize what otherwise will make them spend more money on their vehicles or becomes a death trap. Then there is the intervention phase where now you prepared, you have the solution. If you want to do 10 lanes, you do it. Then the people get the maximum satisfaction. As it is now, it appears we have decided to do nothing. And like I said, even in road economics, we don't like do nothing. So do nothing means you have let everything to go the way it likes, to the weather, to whatever. And what is going to happen is that everything becomes unpredictable, unsafe, and especially at night when there is no light. And also, you see, You have a motorway, you design it to run at 100 kilometers per hour or 120 kilometers per hour. This road must have smooth surface, no changing lanes when you are driving at 100 kilometers per hour, unless you meet an obstacle. Unfortunately, when you have a pothole, you have to change lanes, otherwise you are dead. But that is not allowed on the motorway, because on the motorway you have multiple lanes and everybody is supposed to go at a certain speed. And even during capacity or you want people to go almost around 70 kilometers per hour, which is also very high. And if you have potholes, then the road provider or the road manager, and for that matter, the Ministry of Roads and Highways or Ghana Highway Authority, have put or are putting the people of Ghana at risk. And that is not acceptable.
Prof,
So I would say that leaving it is not acceptable. What can we do? We have to do the minimum to fix the surface regularly. We have to keep our eye on the road. We have to make sure that we enforce it. Most importantly, we have to drop the speed. And the reason to drop the speed is this. If you design a road to operate at 120 kilometers per hour, actually during the peak, it must operate around 70, 60, 70 kilometers per hour to get maximum flow for everybody to be able to go without delay. So there is no reason why we should still allow 120, because the thing is that it doesn't have the features of a motorway. You have slow moving vehicles like Oboya, Trotro, all on it. So you create speed differential, which in itself is a recipe for safe driving and therefore crashes. So once we have decided to allow Trotro, we have allowed Pajia, everybody, we have allowed pedestrians to cross, then we have to drop the speed limit so that our police will be there to enforce lower and new speed limits. Then we have to learn to manage people on the road. If we want people to cross, because we have allowed Trotro to be there, and Trotro passengers need to stop and cross, then we need to decide that maybe this has become a normal dual carriageway in the city. So let's have well-designed crossing points. If it is upgrade, there are ways to do it so that vehicles will stop. Mind you, when you drop the speed limits and then you want people to cross, there's a way to do it so that people can cross in safety. Allowing everything to go on unchecked, not managed, is a recipe for disaster.
Prof, let's talk about these toll booths. The government says they are going to remove them because cars keep crashing into them. They've become an obstruction now. In the past, when they were operating as toll booths, people would have to slow down to pay their toll and drive through, so they were safe enough. But now we have this situation where they are just there, empty shells, and they are causing accidents. People keep crashing into these toll booths. Prof, the government is going to remove 2 of the toll booths on each end of the motorway, and it's going to cost them about 1 million cedis to do that. Will it improve the situation?
I don't think so. See, there is not a one thing that you have to do. When we build the motorway and we put toll booths there, we did it in such a way that as you approach the motorway, you knew that there was a toll booth. You knew that within, say, 500 meters of the toll booth, you had to slow down. And people had used the road for years and knew that you needed to slow down as you approach the motorway. Now we decided to stop collecting tolls. And the first thing we should have done was, one, to put caution signs to make people slow down as they approach the toll plaza, even before we remove it. Now, there's a school of thought that government may bring back the toll. So why do you remove something that you have spent a lot of money to build? So let's leave them there. And I say that if you want to leave them there, what it means is that you have to calm the traffic from 120 to, let's say, about 30 kilometers per hour, so that they can cross the motorway, they can cross the toll booth before they gain speed again. Now, that must be supervised. If we wanted to do that, we needed supervision, we needed police supervision, we
Mm.
need police person to be able to do that. If you don't want to do that, you just have to remove the ones that are in the two inner lanes so that drivers have no obstacle and they can cross in peace. So I would say that if you remove the outer ones and you leave the inner ones, you haven't done anything.
Right.
If we remove all, we don't need any supervision. But if we leave any part of it there, we need to put in measures to calm the traffic as they approach. We
Mm.
need to have police presence to ensure that people don't overspeed through and then get hurt. We
Mm.
need to make the place visible with lights. We need to put reflectors so that you can see it more than 200 kilometers, 200 meters from the motorway. Remember, when you're on a high speed road like the motorway,
Mm.
if you cannot see ahead 200, only 200 meters with your lights and then decide, you can easily crash.
Mm. Prof, in fact, if you just joined us, we're talking to engineer Reverend Professor Anum Adams, and we're getting quite a deep education on the motorway, the state of it today, and some very practical ways in which we can make it a bit safer, because currently it is such a death trap. All right, now, Prof, let's also talk about the road furniture. Well, first of all, no, there are no road markings left on the motorway. No street lights. The signage is sparse, to be fair. There are so many places where there ought to be signage. You've already talked about the toll booths, approaching the booths. Now that we have allowed for settlements along the motorway, now that we have allowed for trotro stops along the motorway, surely we ought to be putting in the commensurate signage to make them safe, shouldn't we? Prof, I don't know if you can hear me.
I didn't hear your last word. So,
Yes, I was just saying, since we have allowed for all of these things, settlements along the motorway, trotro
yeah,
stops,
yeah.
should we not be putting in more signs, more markings on the road? And for the love of God, should we not fix those street lights?
I mean, you said it all. Like I said, the road currently is called a motorway because it allows for 120, 400. But even our trunk roads, we design them for 80, not more than 100. So if we want to allow stopping on the motorway, pedestrian crossing on the motorway, trotros, pragia, everything, the first important step is to decide that for a season till we are able to reconstruct it, we will drop the speed limits. And then all the other signs that need to be put there, like um, speed limit sign, pedestrian sign, bus stop, guide signs, lane selection signs to allow people to know that when they are approaching certain sections, maybe they advise them to use the inner lane instead of, because now it's not motorway. We need to put in all the signs and, if possible, put in interventions to compel people to slow down, especially as they approach where we have designated that pedestrians could cross. I mean,
Hmm.
the reason why we do all these things by roads is to save lives. And if you look at the Sustainable Goal 3,
Hmm.
we say we want to have fatalities on the roads. So a road like motorway, if you want to apply the SDG to it, instead of we minimizing fatalities, we are actually using it to create fatalities. And I say we are using it to create fatalities because our inaction, our lack of judgment on what to do is killing more people. So instead of us bringing down the number of fatalities on our roads, you will see that it is going up. And over the last 10 years, when we made a strategy to bring it down, it has rather gone up, almost doubled, fortunately. So to say that you are right, you're spot on, we need to first decide that this is not operating as a motorway anymore. And immediately we don't have an alternative maybe. So let's drop the limits so that we bring it to say 80 when it's still good enough to make people pass. Then we decide that just how people can cross our trunk roads. We create sections where we want people to cross. That if we would decide that we want people to cross, then we put in the signs, and then we allow some minimum enforcement teams on the road to make sure that we protect lives. We allow people to go to their work safely without much congestion. And then we what we call minimize vehicle operating costs by fixing the surface. You need to do the minimum to fix the surface. It is not acceptable to ride on the road, motorway, high speed, and have potholes. There are very simple ways to fix these potholes. And these days, there are more materials that you can use, even in concrete, and place it. And within a couple of minutes, vehicles can use it. We need to use technology. We need to use knowledge. Cities now, it seems to be now.
So, Prof, I mean, when I think about how the motorway has been managed, or you know, how it's been managed, it makes you wonder. I mean, we have a highway authority, we have a Ministry of Roads, and I would have thought that these places are full of technocrats who understand the job. But we've got them filling concrete potholes with bitumen. We've got them abandoning these street lights and not replacing the road markings. We've got them allowing people to um, set up set up habitats on either side of the motorway. We've got people crashing into abandoned toll booths. Uh, what, I mean, is it a lack of capacity? What is accounting for these apparent poor decisions?
Okay. Let me answer you this way. I did a presentation on a platform for the ministry for continuous 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, and put up a slide. And I know people, my friends in the ministry, did not agree with me totally, but I mean the very senior ones who have uh, led the institution was most they agree with me. So I'm not worried because you have to be able to speak as it is. In some capacity, let me say that we have people there, and we have people there who go to work and they try to do their best. And I also know that they have constraints regard to financing and everything. But I think our capacity to do asset management, for me, is challenged because when you look at all these things that are happening, it is 90% non-financial. Managing the asset, making sure that things that are not working are fixed. I would say they are non-financial because we have the power to structure contracts in such a way that we can get the minimum done all the time, and we do it. However, I think the capacity to do asset management, which means maintaining and preserving infrastructure that is built, I think is very low. However, capacity to design and award contracts extremely high. So it appears that our interest is more. And when I say it for government and also for the industry, that they seem to want to build more roads, build new interchange, award new contracts, but there is no asset management. So we don't even know that cash flow is the number one problem of the industry. You have awarded so many contracts and you don't have money, and therefore suddenly everybody abandons site. Then you have half projects everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a capacity issue. It's not a financial issue because you don't have money. Everybody knows that common sense tells us that you build the one you can build, you complete, then you do the next. But if you, instead of awarding 3 projects, you award 15, 20, and then you are doing all of them, and then you reach, say, halfway, and then you don't have money. Then you have projects everywhere, like you see. So, on this call, I would say that yes, they have gone to school. Yes, they have degrees. Some of them I teach them. Some of them are like seniors. The point is that we see what they are doing, and they have been doing for the last 2 decades. You can see that there is a capacity issue regarding asset management.
We're talking to engineer professor. In fact, let me start from engineer Reverend Professor Anum Adams of KNUST School of Engineering, and he's really educating us on what exactly is wrong with our potholes. All right, then, let's get back to it. We've been joined by the Acting Director, Public Affairs, Ghana Highway Authority, that's Cecil Obodai Wentum. Our guest, of course, from the very beginning was Engineer Reverend Professor Charles Anum Adams. He's the Founding Center Director at the Regional Transport Research and Education Center, Kumasi. It's at the College of Engineering, KNUST, and he's still with us, joining us via Zoom. So, Cecil, this motorway has deteriorated to a very significant level. There is an accident on this motorway almost every day now. Does the Ghana Highway Authority take responsibility for the hazard and peril that this motorway now poses to Ghanaians?
Okay, I know. Kojo, let me say good morning to your listeners. I want to appreciate the good work you're doing and bringing us on our feet almost every day. Before I proceed with the motorway, let me do some quick clarification, and then that will help you or our listeners, or your listeners, to understand. You mentioned something on the construction of the phase 1 of the 17-kilometer stretch, the Tema of Lao Road, and you even said that the contractors have walked away. Give me some 2 minutes. I'll clarify the issue so that you will know that the contractors have not walked away. The contractor on that stretch is the DA Construction International Limited. They are supposed to provide us with a 3-lane dual carriage expressway, a 2-lane one-way service road. And I want you to take note of all that I'm saying. On either side of the main carriageway, there are going to be 4 interchanges, one at Bombaria, Savannah, Afienya, and then Pram. They're also doing some drainage systems, providing pedestrian facilities, including bridges. There's a local partner they are working with, and it's First Sky Limited, and I want to put this on record. They are undertaking the construction of all the earthworks and the concrete works for the project. This project, as I speak to you, commenced in June 2022. According to a revised program, and is expected to be completed by 2023. As I speak to you, all the abutments have been done. And to break this down to the layman, the substructure at the end of the bridge span that provides a lateral support for the span have all been constructed. I am not an engineer. I speak to them, and then they educate me on some of these things. And these are the things I am putting out there. So I can assure you that work is progressing. You might not see contractors or you might not see equipment, but this is where the thing is. The contractor has prioritized work. And the first priority of the contractor is on the interchanges. And then the culverts plus the service roads. And these are moving concurrently, but with some priority on the interchanges. That is why you use that stretch, and you will see those vertical columns that they have put there. And there are 4 major intersections that I'm talking about. I mentioned them earlier, the Boom, Savannah, Afienya, and Pram. But some of the work is being done in situ. What it simply means is that Majority of the work as it is now at this stage is being done off-site. You understand? So as you see, most of the piers and abutments have been raised, except at the Dowenya, if you use that road a lot, where I have been informed and I have been told that there are challenges with project-affected persons, reasons for which that particular section has slowed down a bit. But that notwithstanding, we have seen steady progress of work. And it's important for me to state here and now that there are other activities again that are being done off-site. For instance, I can explain to you, I'm just rounding up, so I can get onto the motorway for us to have a very comprehensive discussion. For instance, there are about 30 horizontal member beams that are being constructed off-site. So after the vertical columns have been mounted, what we call the beams, they have to put the horizontal member on it. And all these things are being done off-site. The engineers call it precast. Out of these 30, I have been informed that 18 are done. They are completed and undergoing pre-stress tests. And if Prof is on the line with me, I'm sure he will endorse all that I've just said to you. The stress tests are important for the engineers just to ascertain or help them determine what you call design sensitivity or even predict possible failures so that they can address those failures or provide remedial measures so that they can address those failures. And these are things engineers do all the time. You understand? So they have not walked away. And I want to assure you and all the listeners who are with us this morning that they have not walked away. But there are some activities that are being done off-site. And that's the reason why maybe you don't see people around. Does not mean that they have walked away. Could you?
Okay, Cecil. So now to the motorway and the question I asked. Is the highway authority taking responsibility for all the deaths and destruction and carnage that is happening on the motorway due to its deteriorated state?
Kojo, I can easily appreciate your concern and the concerns of all those who will also share in the question that you have just asked. My responsibility, I would not say that or we must take it. Because you see, we need to approach this in a multifaceted way. And let me explain this to you. And I'll make this point very clear. I am looking for an opportunity to visit you, and then all of us can have an in-house conversation properly. But as we're doing the same, the motorway have lost its structural integrity. Yes, I agree. And Professor Adam said it in another way. It was designed to last for 50 years. Every road is designed with life in mind. The motorway was designed to go for 50 years. If it's a human being, it should have been dead by now, which is true, is dead. But the motorway has not lost its functional integrity. And Kojo, you will be the better person to explain this well. It has lost its structural integrity, but it has not lost its functional integrity. And I heard Professor Adams stressing that, why do 120? Yes, and you even mentioned that, must we reclassify or come back and say that how many kilometers must we do speed in terms of speed on the motorway? I will say that me, anytime I use the motorway, I use my conscience. Why would I do 120 on the motorway? No. So what it means is that until the motorway is fixed, until we come to a national consensus and decide or we agree that we must fix the motorway, anybody who uses the motorway must be cautious. Must be cautious. And we must, especially on the Accra-bound section of the motorway. Kojo, it is very true. But you see, the thing is that how do we enhance the motorability of the motorway? That is why you see our maintenance people almost every now and then on the motorway. And what are they doing? They are only providing temporary, plans just to maintain the motorability or enhance its motorability. So the patching you see that is happening. Yes, the reconstruction goes beyond us. And Kojo, you understand? The construction of the reconstruction of motorway didn't start today. We have had conversations with the Parliament. What was the last time? I think 2020. Before I joined Ghana Highway Authority from GBC, we have heard a lot. You understand? But the thing now is that we must come together, and I think we must take out the politics. And for me, this is where I come in. We must take out the political conversation about the motorway and see how all of us as a country. So yes, people are dying. But sometimes too, we must also be disciplined. Our attitudes on the roads. Look, the thing is that I'm sure you know, Kojo, than I do, that we can count more than 4 or 5 assemblies that connect to the motorway. Lejokuku, mention them, Ayawaso, mention all of them. Why did they sit down for the motorway on both sides for people to just move into our road reservation and build slums and build? And so just as you said
it's
in your own road, conversation Cecil. With Prof,
if I may, Cecil,
people are driving, truck drivers are stopping on the. So me, I don't see it any longer as an express highway. It is no longer. It defeats the purpose for which it was initially constructed or originally constructed. So we must all move in. Not too long ago, the Great Accra Regional Minister issued a warning. Doesn't want to see Pragya and all those, equipment. But what do we see today? They are all there. Just because people are patronizing their services. People cross from one end to the other. Look, not too long ago, we did some exercise at the Auth 18 junction. And I'm sure you know about it, Kojo. You made a lot of noise. We went there to fix bolts and nuts that have all been removed. Over 1,500 bolts, nuts have all been removed under the tunnel. How did it happen? A tunnel meant for cattle crossing. Today, vehicles are using that tunnel. And as I speak to you, just yesterday, our engineers from building bridge maintenance unit, throughout the night on Sunday, they have worked very, very hard to replace all 1,500 nuts and even welded some of them so that at least it will not remove again. Kojo, let me tell you one thing. We have a lot of living legends that are living with us in this country. People who go about moving some of these parts and making life very difficult for you and I. This traffic light thing you people have been talking about, you don't understand the reasons behind why most of the traffic lights are down today. People are moving parts. People are moving parts from some of these structures that you see around. And these traffic lights, they communicate amongst themselves. So if you move one part from this side and it cannot communicate with the other, what do you expect? So could you look, I've sat behind the console like you have been doing with your passion to speak and see Ghana work. I've done that for 22 years. For Christ's sake. Look, we need to work on our psyche. We need to work on our minds, my brother Kojo. So keep up the job you're doing. And let's all see how we can have a national conversation to change attitudes and change mindsets of people who are not willing to get this country. Look, some of these people you see, they push some trucks around and all that. They are worse than armed robbers. I'm telling you, Kojo.
So let me ask you this, Cecil.
Yes.
What I wanted to know was whether the Highway Authority takes responsibility.
Yes, so I've just told you, responsibility, we must share it. Because
if I may, your response is that these things are happening because people are not slowing down on the motorway. That because people are stealing parts. So you are blaming the public for the accidents on the motorway?
So yes, I'm saying that we are part, fine, I understand. But we are doing our part. We continuously engage in maintenance activities, as I've just indicated. Our MMU people, we go and then we patch the sections. The sections we are patching, we are using bitumen. I heard you say that. Fine. But in no time, bitumen will expand because of heat and all that, and then that section is taken off. But the thing is that the motorway originally is concrete, constructed pavement. And I understand all the arguments that you can't use bitumen and all that to patch.
So why are you doing that?
Tells me that.
So why are you using bitumen?
Yeah, so, but we can also cut that section and say we are concretizing that section. You know the number of hours it will take to cure. You know the congestion you bring on the motorway. So these are just remedial measures that our engineers are putting in place to enhance the motorability of the motorway. And I'm only saying that until we all agree nationally that we reconstruct the motorway, these remedial maintenance activities will continue to go on.
Cecil,
People must now
I want
apply
to be sure
caution.
that I understand you. I want to be sure that I understand you, Cecil. You're saying that the reason why we are patching the concrete motorway with bitumen instead of concrete is because if we use the correct material, it will cause traffic.
Yes.
That's it.
No. So I'm saying that
all road construction causes traffic, Cecil.
It's not at one place. How do you do one spot and then you wait till it cures, and then you move to another spot and then you wait till it cures? So I'm saying that to have a holistic and a comprehensive reconstruction program, what do you do? We must now look for alternative routes. And where are those alternative routes? It could be the median, it could be our reservation. If we agree that is what is going on, I'm sure the engineers know better. They can come up with a design so that we can take traffic off the main carriageway onto the reservation or within the median, and then whilst they start work on the main carriageway. And if you look around, that's what is being done everywhere. In Ofankor, in Sawam Road, for instance, you realize that there's a lot of work going on within the median section where traffic will be taken off the main carriageway onto the median, and then if you allow people to go into that section and then start putting up structures and all that, you know what is going to happen. But look at the situation on the motorway, Kojo. Just look both left and right. Just look at what's happening. So much indiscipline. People have moved into our road reservation. And tomorrow, if you decide that you're going to bring down these structures, there are same persons who start shouting and making noise. I can't believe it. Seriously.
Okay, Cecil.
Seriously, I can't believe it. I think that.
I want us to bring in our guest, Prof. I'm very interested to hear what he has to say about the information you've shared with us. So, Prof. Anum Adams, you've listened to Cecil from the Ghana Highway Authority. He says, look, they don't take responsibility for the carnage on the motorways. It's their road, but they believe that it's the actions of the public that is contributing to this. And he's given several examples of this. How do you respond to that?
All right, thank you very much, and good morning, Cecil. And I know, Cecil is doing his best to explain, or have done his best to explain some of the challenges they have and what they are doing. And of course, some of these things are very technical. Should take responsibility, I would say yes. And they should, and they must, and we have to ask them to do it. But more importantly, they work under the Ministry of Roads and Highways. So the ministry must take responsibility, because the Highway Authority's vision is to provide safe road infrastructure. So to say that I want to provide safe road infrastructure, and then when the thing is not safe, you don't take responsibility. I don't get it.
Well, to be fair, he says that they take part of the responsibility.
Okay,
but not
that's
all
very
of it.
good then.
Yeah.
So I would say that because it works under the ministry, and the ministry is the main driver of policies and everything that they do, I think they should take responsibility. Now, let me also say that he explained that sometimes they are working off the carriageway, which is true. So there are activities that you do off the carriageway. So you could have a contractor on site doing off carriageway activities, or doing concrete precast and all of that, which is fantastic. So probably maybe let me also say that the Ghana Highway Authority itself, through the ministry, realizing some of the difficulties that they have with managing projects, is probably experimenting what I spoke about on their platform, output performance-based contract. Because if that was the case, what you would do in such a contract, which is not too far-fetched. You could build that into future contracts anyway. You can say that when the contractor is working off carriageway, he has to maintain a certain minimum level of service on the travelway. So he doesn't have to be doing something there before he can give traffic relief or riding quality, good riding quality to motoring public. So if the contract says that, look, you have to ensure safety, good riding service, minimum delay, minimum environmental damage, and public satisfaction. These are the key indicators for determining the impact of the roads in any jurisdiction. And this is what we expect to do so that we can tell whether the road we are building is actually serving the public. So we talk about technical things, bridges, all of that. Now we want to see whether the road is satisfactory. We don't talk about any of those things. We talk about, is it safe? Is the riding quality satisfactory? Is it causing delay and congestion to people? Is it polluting the environment? And is there public satisfaction? These indicators tell us whether what we are doing is satisfactory to the public.
Right.
But I noticed that they don't talk about any of those. So they are more interested in implementing the design. So we're doing a lot of engineering. So I said, we have to move from doing the engineering to managing the assets. When you are an asset manager, you might work differently from a road builder.
Right.
Cities now, we seem to be building roads, but we need to manage the infrastructure for the public good so that the public will be satisfied.
Now,
So yes, they're doing a lot, but I think they could do more in another direction.
right. Prof, this bitumen, sealing of concrete roads, Cecil tried to explain why they don't use concrete. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the first time this topic came up, I remember on your platform a couple of years ago, I responded, and let me try and repeat myself. Can you patch concrete with bitumen? Yes, you can do that. Is it done? Yes, because the concept came from the US Army Corps, where they needed to patch landfill pavements, and landfill pavements cannot accept any kind of pothole, any small debris on it. So because bitumen dries faster, they decided to do that. So let me ask you, let me say that, yes, it can be done. Is it the best way? No. Can concrete be made to dry faster? Yes. Today's world, you can dry concrete in the shortest possible time you want by adding.
Yeah.
Science is very well developed worldwide. So it is the way you do it. Of course, you can't open large sections to the driving public, but you can plan the maintenance in such a way that you minimize delay, you minimize congestion, and then you allow people to go. Because the point really is that if you want to fix the road, the general public must also bear some of the consequences. So if we know that for the next 3 months, we are going to remove panel by panel, and then in a staggered way so that we can manage traffic, we can manage delay, we can manage safety, and all the things I talked about. Then you can do it, and the public will move freely. You can even replace the slabs, and it can be done. We've done it. I work with Ghana Highway Authority on the from KNUST Junction to Ajiso when they were doing trying to reconstruct the roundabouts. And then my center was brought in as an advisor because we told them, don't shut down the road. Let the road flow. We will manage it. Let the contractor do its work. And we did it. And we checked everything. There was no delay, nothing. Nobody went about their business. Nobody complained. It took us about, I think, 3 months to finish those things. Nobody complained. Thing was done. So is that the way to do? Yes. Are they doing it? No. Can they do it? Yes.
That's definitive. And I'm grateful to you and to Cecil for your time with us this morning. Certainly very educational. We're very glad that Cecil intervened with extra information. Cecil Obodai Wentum is Acting Director, Public Affairs, Ghana Highway Authority, and we're ever so grateful to Engineer Reverend Professor Charles Anum Adams, Founding Center Director, Regional Transport Research and Education Center, Kumasi, that's TREC, at the College of Engineering, KNUST. I assure you, this conversation is only at its inception. So you'll be hearing more from these two guests and others as we seek to find national solutions to these problems. Until we're back together for this conversation, thank you both ever so much. Raymond, we've heard a lot.
So, two things. One, I'm not expecting Prof to fix the problems on the motorway. So I got some education from it, and I found it useful, especially a clarification on this new trend that we have to reinvent the wheel in the use of concrete because bitumen appears to be our alternative. As Prof just said, indeed, it can be done faster. It can be made to drive with proper planning. But check the very vision and the mission of the Ghana Highway Authority. Planning is part of it. So if they really meant business, and that's why I switched to what has been heard from the Ghana Highway Authority. I won't lie to you. If I am somebody who every day uses the motorway, I find it not useful at all. I got no assurances. I got no proper determined thought about whether or not we are going to fix these problems anytime soon. It reached a point I was almost being, it was being done like the way politicians do their thing. Let's have a bigger conversation about it. With which people? Do the conference where? Do you need to hold a forum on this?
But who disagrees?
Yes, on that we should fix the motorway.
Who disagrees that the motorway should be fixed?
So get to work. That's what people are demanding. So when you come up and raise all of these non-essential comments about the substantive matter, that gentleman who's on the motorway today, what assurance have you given to the person? And let's be fair to ourselves. When was the last time we did this patch we were talking about? Last week? 2 weeks ago? A month ago? Which specific timing? What are you talking about? So we and it tells you the story. It tells you the story that we are not getting any solution anytime soon, Kojo. Because he gave none, suggested none. The biggest solution I got from there, which was quite disappointing to me, was the rant about a national forum of a sort that's required. This national forum is supposed to determine whether we fix the motorway 17 kilometers. Now, if you are fixing all the roads in the country, what do we require? A UN forum? Sometimes, if you do not have any further information, if there is no useful thing to say about what many people who struggle every morning going through their lives, and these are people who pay taxes to this state. So they expect that basic things are fixed for them. These are people who are going to work and increase the productivity of the state. Except we do not know the usefulness of that stretch. If you know about it, your communication should be measured in a way that suggests that this is the solution we are putting in place. It might have delayed, we may not have had the resources and all of that. But to come to create the impression that this is something that's way beyond us, and we will need a bigger conversation on it to exactly do what?
But he raises some genuine issues too. He says people are stealing fittings.
See, with respect,
from
people steal
roads
every day from every project. So because of that, the project will not work. Why then do we have the people who are supposed to man these projects? Why then do we have security on it?
He also says
the
people
entire
speed
theory,
on
the entire
motorway.
theory that a state will have laws and people who implement the laws is because we expect other human beings not to act right. Merely because some people do not act right. Now, of course, then what's your use as a person who's supposed to supervise the project and be there in the first place? So yes, I admit that those might be legitimate issues, and some Ghanaians misbehave. So because of that, nobody should use the motorway again. Or until we all fix our behavior and become wonderful Christians, we cannot have better motorway. Or Muslims, or whichever religious grouping we belong to. We cannot have a better motorway or something like that. So the logic is, at best, not so sensible. We have difficulties, and when we make it look like our problems can be fixed with a brief talk, a very passionate appeal, which does not fix any of the major problems, we are just basically reducing the issues to merely nonsensical points. And you think about it today. I am asking anybody on the motorway, did you get any assurance that your motorway will be fixed next week or next month? which is really what the people are looking out for.
He says people are overspeeding on the motorway as well. Going the full speed limit, at this point is not the best.
Yes.
The motorway that is past its.
That's an advice to all drivers in the
sell-by
country,
date.
and we agree perfectly. We are asking him to do his bit. The job that they are put in that particular highways authority to do is to fix the road. We expect him to fix that. As for the advice, we can give ourselves. So he should not spend quality airtime this morning repeating advice that we've heard consistently. What we expect is people who are paid to do jobs, do them. And don't come compounding it like you are coming to teach some kindergarten kids how to behave in a state.